Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your host and Foreman Douglas Scoundrels. Today we are assembling the Zoraida Core box for the Neverborn and Bayou factions. Swamp Fiend keyword. Box contains 6 miniatures. You have Zoraida, Baba Yaga herself, her totem, the Voodoo Doll, the henchman, Bad Juju, and then 3 Waldgeists. These little tree guys here in the center. That is our artwork. Renders on the back. Zoraida with her lovely staff. And then the Voodoo Doll being very, very small. And Bad Juju being very, very big. And then the Waldgeists having lots of bits. I'm kind of afraid to assemble them. But that is our renders. Let's look at the sprues. There's a lot here. So here's Zoraida on one end of this. And then the Voodoo Doll on the other end right there. And then the Bad Juju being this entire sheet of bits. It isn't a ton of bits, there's just a lot of very big ones. He is huge. But nothing looks too difficult to assemble, at least. And then our Waldgeists here on an old 2nd edition sprue with kind of a good chunk of tiny bits. Not as bad as it could be. I don't like this guy, though. This guy's got a whole bunch of tiny crap, so... Anyways, let's start with Zoraida and let's look at her instructions first. Mama Z. It's not too many bits. We will start with A4 and then go ahead and add the front half of her body, A3. Then we can attach A2, the left arm and right hand and staff, and connect it with A6, which is the right arm. Then we can add this extra, I think maybe it's a skull or something, A7 on top of the staff, right there. And then we can do the Voodoo Doll on her back, A1, and finish with her head, A5. So let's grab A4 and A3 first. Here's A3, but we're going to turn it around and add A4 to the front. Alright, this is A4. Now we're going to add A3 to the front. There is our completed body. Now let's grab A2 the staff and attach it to her left shoulder socket right here. That slots in extremely solidly, so I'm not too worried about it slipping out. But now, let's go ahead and grab A5, the right arm, which will attach here in the right shoulder socket, and to the wrist of the right hand, right there. Actually, it probably would have been smarter to do this first, just because getting it into the wrist is a little finagly. But it was fine. Now let's grab A6 and add it. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to fit, but it's going to fit on top there. Give me 1 second. Alright, it is going to fit right on this connection point right here. And the pointy end is going to be facing her pointier end. This end is going to be facing towards her, or towards her left. Something like that. Let me add that on. Just realized this is a bird, and it's attaching to where the legs are, so you can kind of get an idea of how it's supposed to sit. But you can see the seam in there. Use that as your guide to know that it's set correctly. Alright, now let's add A1, the Voodoo Doll on her back. Just going to attach right there. There we go. And I got the numbering wrong. This is A7, not A6. A6 was the right arm there. Okay, sorry. Let's do her head, which is A5. I'm gonna fit right on that stump. Alright, she's all done. Put her on a base. Zoraida is done. Pretty solid model. Not any real difficulty to her. Hardest part would probably be the bird on top of her stick. But I guess, yeah, put the right arm in before you do the left arm and the staff, and should be fine. Everything else, pretty simple. All right, let's move on. Voodoo Doll should be quick and easy. Grab E1 and then add E2 the right arm, followed by E3 the head. Let's go ahead and look at the instructions, just because instructions exist, but this should go fast. Here's E1 in the front. E2 is going to slot in back here and the shoulder socket. Let's going to need a little force to get it squished in there, but when it's squished, it is a really solid connection. Alright, now let's add the head, E3. Okay, Voodoo Doll's all done. Let's put them on a base. The Voodoo Doll is just a little guy. 3 bits, so I can't really complain about any of it, and they all went in pretty easily. I guess the neck is a little weird of a connection point. I guess doesn't have a solid like tooth and groove situation, so it might be a little wobbly for you, but we'll say that's the hardest part. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on. Bad Jujus. It's a lot here, but I don't think it's going to be too hard, not hard at all. So we'll start with A11 and A10 to the 2 halves on the main body. Then we can go ahead and throw the feet on, which I think is the left foot, A14, and the right foot, A13. Then we can combine the 2 parts of do the right arm. So that'll be A1 plus A12. And then we'll go and do the other arm. So that would be A4 and A9 plus A15 and this extra A8 bit. Then we can do the 2 halves of the chest, A3 and A6, the 2 halves of the head, A5 and A7, and then we'll just slap the boat on his right shoulder, A2. That order might change, but everything seems to have its place. I don't think we're going to have too much of an issue, actually. So let's start with A11 and A10 after we look at the instructions. Alright, A11 is the front half of our body. Let's add A10 to the back. Okay, we've got a body now. Let's do the grippers. A14 is going to be our left foot. Going to go right in there. You can see where the peg will fit. Alright, that looks good. Next we'll do A13, the right foot, sorry. And just dry fit it to get which side it's supposed to go in on. Alright, feetsy's done. We can go and set the body down. Next we will grab A1 here and combine it with A12. Here's A1, now add A12 over the top of it. Okie doke. Seam looks pretty good. So now we will just take our main body and we'll shove the arm on this hole right there. Or the arm has the hole. This is the anti-hole, the nub. The tooth? Yeah, I use the word tooth. Shut up. Alright, there's our right arm attached to the body. Now we can go ahead and put the body back down again. We'll work on the left arm now. So we'll need A4 and combine it with A9, and then we'll do the extra woody bits, A15 and A8 after that. Here's A4, but we're going to attach it to A9 on this side, so A9 is going to go right along there. Okay. We've got ourselves an arm. So next we're going to grab A14 and add it to this space right here. Sorry, that was A15, not A14. But you can see a new connection point right here, and that is where A8 is going to go. Alright, that's in. Now we can attach this arm to the left shoulder. Okay, we might need to pop that out because you can see it's kind of covering up the bits that we're going to do next, the chest. I'm going to go ahead and combine A6 and A3, which should fit over that hole. Alright, our first bit on the right side, now add the left. Okay, that's the 2 of them together. Just make sure the seam is nice and closed, and you shouldn't have too much of an issue. I already dry fit it, and it can in fact slot into this hole, so we don't need to rip the left arm off. So now we're going to attach it there. Alright, we got his chest done, or part of his head, honestly. Yeah, I think that's just a giant head. Alright, let's finish the head then. We're going to grab A5 and add it to A7, and then attach it over that spot. It should be a lot easier just to attach both of them to the head. So A5 is going to be the left side of the face, A7 is the right. Let's do them one at a time. Alright, A5 is in. Now let's do A7. Okay, Juju's face is all in. Our last bit, A2, the boat. It's going to fit right back here on this big connection point. Ooh. All right. Yeah. Okay, Bad Juju's all done. Put him on a 50. Bad Juju. Bad Juju is big. Real big. Very pretty. Not really any difficulty to building him. The hardest part being just knowing where things went. And that was easy enough to figure out with dry fitting and all that. Very gorgeous model, though. I'm really excited to paint him. Okay, let's do the minions now. Okay, the Waldgeists. The hardest, I think, gonna be hardest assemblies in this box. See numbering. We'll go left to right like usual. This is Waldgeist 3 on the sprue. However, it is Waldgeist 2 in the instructions. This says Waldgeist 2 on the sprue. However, this is Waldgeist 3 in the instructions. And this is Waldgeist 1 and Waldgeist 1 in the instructions. So this guy at least lines up. But alright. Let's look at the instruction and then get started with this guy, which is number 3 on the sprue. Alright, we're going to go and grab the body, and then we'll add both sets of toes. Yeah, toes. Do the left arm, the right arm, front of the head, and back of the head, I think is the order we'll go in. So let's grab this guy, and then these 2 bits. Okay. Our first set of toes, the one with 3 toes, is going to be on his left foot. Let's do that. There we be. Looks good. Alright, the bit with just 2 toes will go on the right foot right there. Also good. Next up, the left arm, more forearm and hand than full arm, which will attach at the elbow here. Alright, there's a very, very tiny connection point, so just try to make it match the render, but there's a very obvious spot where the elbow is supposed to connect to the forearm on the forearm. It's just really small, so you might need to also hold it in place or wiggle it a little bit once it's partially cured to get it how you want it to be. Right arm should be a little bit easier. You can see a nice socket for it to go into. And yeah, it was a lot easier. Right, both arms are in. Now let's go ahead and add the front, the main part of the head, right here on the neck stump. Actually, before that, let's add the rest of the crown of the head. That's what that last bit is. It'll go right there. Okay, now let's add the head onto the neck of the body. Alright, he's adorable. Let's put him on a base. Our first of the Waldgeists is done. We're going to call this guy Ash. The hardest part is the left arm. Attaching it to that elbow at such a small connection point kind of sucks, and it's very, very reminiscent of well, it's a 2nd edition model, so of course it's going to have the pain points of 2nd edition models. But I thought it was going to be harder, so I'm happy with how he turned out. I probably need to fix that neck, though. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Our second Waldgeist is going to be a lot easier because we just have the body, the left foot, the right foot, and then the right hand. We'll do them in that order. And it's the back of the body, and I just wanted to note that I had to shave this down pretty well to get that flush. If you try and dry fit it and it doesn't fit, that way you know you need to trim it down a little bit. But now let's add the left foot, which would be the one with the closed toes as opposed to the spread out ones. Alright. Left foot looks good. Now let's add the right foot right there. Okay, all good. Let's just put them down on a flat surface to make sure that these are nice and flush with the ground. And I accidentally knocked the foot off, so pretend I got it right the first time. But anyways, yeah, just do a little bit of nudging until the feet lie flat on the ground. And after that, we can go ahead and add the right hand right there. Alright, that's our right hand. He's all done. Put him on a base. Our second Waldgeist is done. We're going to call this one Willow. 4 bits, not really anything to complain about. We'll say the right hand was the hardest. Well, okay, trimming off the flash on the feet and where they connect to the legs was kind of hard. If you just go in there and put them on without doing a good amount of trimming, you're going to have some gaps that aren't going to look good. Why is he sticking his butt out so far? Anyways, let's move on. Okay, now we're at the really hard one. Waldgeist number 1 on the sprue, and number 1 in the instructions. First up, we will snip off the tiniest bit here, and attach it to this part right here that's on the leg before we snip that out, just because we don't have to worry about 2 tiny bits gluing to each other and then getting all over your fingers. Once that's done, we can cut out the body here, and then we will snip out that little bit attached to the leg right here. At least I think that's where it's supposed to attach. Then we can do the foot, the right foot on that side. After that, we can do the left foot, followed by the skull that goes underneath the foot. Then we can do this extra little viney bit here, which I think attaches to the right leg somewhere. And then we can finish it off with a left arm, a right arm, the back of him, and I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so let's cut out this tiny piece, add it to this other tiny piece, and then grab the body and attach that bit to it. All right? Okay, there is the small piece attached to the other small piece. Definitely a reminder of how to clip that out without sending it flying across the room. You would just grab it with your thumb and forefinger and then do the snipping, and then it won't go flying out. And then a nice set of tweezers will really make it easier to attach that to this bit. So now let's grab the body. Okay, here's our body, and our little dainty leg that we just attached a piece to is going to attach right here at the knee and then go down to the ground. All right, there we go. It should also kind of connect to the backside of the knee, so you can see it sort of wraps around and ends up more on the outside of the leg, almost. Okay, now let's do his right foot, which is the smaller one of the 2 rooty feet. All right. Wouldn't worry too much about either of them being flush on the ground. Let's go ahead and quickly throw him on the floor, I guess, and add the left foot, which is the longer roots. All right, there is the left foot. Okay, our decorative skull. I'm gonna set him down. This decorative skull right here goes underneath that left foot. He does have this one tiny little connection point at the top of the skull, but I'm not entirely sure what that attaches to on the bottom of the foot. There's nothing that's apparent, so all I'm going to do is just try to match it up with the render, which is what I recommend you do. But it will attach to the underside of the foot somewhere. Okay, I'm going to call that good. This is where I attached him. Alright, the stringy bit is a vine that attaches to his butt and other leg. You can see where it starts here, and it glues over here. That bit being this one. So let's attach that. And there we go. Just a little bit of prodding. Okay, let's actually do his back bit before we do the arms. I think it'll be easier to do that now. Alright. That's his back. Okay, we just got arms left. Let's go ahead and start with the left arm, which I'm not sure how that attaches. One sec. Okay, our left arm is the one with all the mushrooms on it, and you can barely see that it's slightly smoother here on this part of the body. And there's this nice line right here, which matches the sort of notch that is on this left arm. Oops. Right here. So that's where that arm's going to go. All right. That's how it's supposed to look. It actually is really nice to see. I'm surprised. All right. Our other arm is probably going to have a very similar situation. Yeah, sadly. I think you can see that it's slightly smoother right here. So that's where we're going to add it. Okay. I got him. Pretty sure that's where that's supposed to go. All right, he's done. Put him on a base. Our third Waldgeist is done, and he was an absolute butthole, so he gets to be called the world's worst tree. Say hello to Bradford Pear. Yeah, what's up with all that crap on his leg? Anyways, yeah, quite difficult. Basically everything going on his legs, and the arms were also really weird to attach because I wasn't entirely sure where they went. I hate this model. I hate him. Anyways, let's look at the rest of the box. The Zoraida Core box is done, containing Zoraida, the Voodoo Doll, Bad Juju, who was kind of out of frame, and I don't care, it's his fault for being big, and 3 Waldgeists. The last one being all of the difficulty in this box. I mean, Zoraida had the weird crow, and the Voodoo Doll is just tiny pieces, but not too bad. And Juju is more of just knowing where things went than any sort of difficulty. And honestly, the first 2 Waldgeists were pretty simple, except for maybe like the left arm on the first one. But that last one, I hate him. I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting new sculpts of these guys come 4th edition. Good. I'm going to burn them. Anyways, I've been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. I hate Bradford Perry.